There is something haunting about hearing a man at the peak of global fame whisper the words, "I failed miserably." For Sam Heughan, an actor whose face has become synonymous with charm, strength, and undeniable charisma through the worldwide phenomenon Outlander, those words do not come lightly. They arrive like a thunderclap, unexpected, jarring, and deeply human. Imagine the glow of red carpets, flashing cameras, and adoring fans lining up with posters of Jamie Fraser, the Highland warrior who made Sam a household name. It is easy to believe that such a man never stumbles, never doubts, never looks back with regret. Yet behind that carefully polished image is a memory that Sam admits has stayed with him like a scar he cannot quite heal. The regret began in a moment when everything seemed possible. In his early years, long before Outlander carved his place in history, Sam was hustling in the restless, often merciless world of auditions. London theatres, small television parts, fleeting appearances, he had done them all, and yet a larger break kept slipping away. At some point, there was an opportunity, one that had the potential to shift his career entirely. It was not just another role, it was the kind of chance that actors pray for in the quiet loneliness of their tiny flats. And Sam, for reasons that still weigh on him, either turned it down, mishandled it, or simply wasn't ready when fate knocked. When he speaks of it now, his words carry the heaviness of someone who has replayed that moment countless times in his head. "I failed miserably," he admits, the phrase both sharp and self-forgiving at once. He does not shy away from the truth, that even in a career gilded with success, there was a stumble so raw it still defines part of his journey. Failure is an intimate thing. For celebrities, it is usually hidden, brushed away under the gleam of publicity. But Sam chose to confront it. He paints the picture not of the actor adored by millions, but of a young man alone in a small, dimly lit room, wondering if his dream had already slipped through his fingers. While his peers moved forward, he stayed behind, battling doubt and the cruel whisper that maybe he wasn't enough. The haunting part of his confession is not just the failure itself, but the recognition of how close he came to surrendering. He could have given up, packed away the dream of acting, taken a safer path, disappeared into anonymity. Instead, he carried the wound of that failure quietly, letting it bleed into his craft. That single regret became the silent ghost that followed him onto every stage, every set, every casting call. Years later, standing under the blinding lights of international fame, Sam finally allowed himself to speak about it. His fans, accustomed to seeing him as unshakable, heard a new side of him, the vulnerable, imperfect artist who once doubted his place in the world. And that revelation changed the way many looked at him. He was no longer just Jamie Fraser, the heroic warrior, but Sam Heughan, the man who had wrestled with failure, who had faced rejection so sharp it left him with his biggest career regret. What remains unclear, and perhaps deliberately so, is the exact detail of that regret. Was it a major Hollywood role that slipped away? A West End production that would have altered his reputation forever? Or was it something even more personal? A moment where he simply wasn't ready to seize the stage. He leaves the specifics vague, almost as if the mystery itself adds weight to the story. And yet, in that vagueness lies the universal pull of his confession. Everyone, at some point, has whispered those same words, "I failed miserably." It could be after a job interview, a broken relationship, or a dream that never came to life. By opening up about his own scar, Sam allows his audience to see themselves reflected in his journey. As the lights dim on this part of his story, one question lingers, pressing against the silence he leaves behind. What exactly was the mistake so painful that Sam Heughan still names it his greatest career regret? Under the spotlight of confession, Sam Heughan's words unfold not as a cry of defeat, but as an act of courage. To admit a mistake is easy. To admit a regret that continues to shape your very identity is something else entirely. When Sam finally revealed what lay beneath his haunting phrase, his biggest career regret, it was not simply about a lost role. It was about the kind of choices that define a person and the price of ambition in an industry that rarely forgives. He explained that in his early journey as an actor, there was an opportunity many considered golden. It might have been a role in a groundbreaking film, or a chance to align with producers who would later dominate Hollywood. At the time, however, Sam either misjudged its value or doubted his readiness. The decision slipped through his fingers. Watching that opportunity pass became a bitter reminder that even talent, discipline, and drive are sometimes not enough if self-belief falters at the wrong moment. What makes his confession powerful is the humility with which he frames it. He does not lash out at circumstances or blame fate. Instead, he admits he was not ready, that his own hesitation, his own lack of confidence, played the greatest part in his failure. For someone idolized as Jamie Fraser, a symbol of confidence and unwavering strength, this admission was startlingly raw. Fans who once viewed him only through the lens of success suddenly saw the man who had stared at the ceiling of a modest flat, heartbroken, questioning whether he had ruined his future with one decision. But regret alone does not define him. What followed became a lesson in resilience. Sam has often spoken about the brutal grind of the acting world, auditions that lead nowhere, rejection letters that pile higher than scripts, and the unspoken exhaustion of constantly proving yourself. That one mistake became a catalyst. Instead of crushing him, it hardened his resolve. Every audition after that carried the weight of someone who refused to let another chance slip by. The turning point came, of course, with Outlander. When Sam first auditioned for the role of Jamie Fraser, he brought into the room not just his skill, but also the fire of a man who had lived through disappointment. Casting directors later recalled the intensity in his presence, the sense that he was hungry in a way that went beyond ambition. It was the hunger of someone who had known failure and swore never to taste it so bitterly again. Without that earlier regret, perhaps his audition would have lacked the same desperation, the same depth. And so, in a way, his greatest failure shaped his greatest triumph. Sam himself acknowledges this paradox. The regret still hurts. He does not sugarcoat it, but it also gave him the grit to endure, to push forward when others might have walked away. I failed miserably, he admits, but then he adds that failure can also be the soil from which unexpected victories grow. For his fans, the revelation became more than just celebrity gossip. It was a reminder that behind the gloss of stardom are stories that mirror our own struggles. How many times have we turned down an opportunity out of fear, only to regret it later? How many times have we stood at the edge of something life-changing, paralyzed by doubt? Sam's story speaks to anyone who has carried the weight of what if. Still, his words sting because they humanize him so deeply. When people look at Sam Heughan today, actor, philanthropist, entrepreneur, they see a man who seems unstoppable. Yet his confession proves that success is not a straight climb. It zigzags through dark valleys of uncertainty, regret, and self-doubt. His biggest career regret is not just about missing a role. It is about confronting the reality that even the strongest among us can stumble. As he shares this story with the world, Sam transforms personal pain into collective wisdom. His honesty challenges us. Will we allow our regrets to anchor us, or will we use them as fuel to rise higher? In his case, the answer is written in every frame of Outlander, in every new project he embraces with unflinching determination. And perhaps that is why his confession lingers. It is not just about Sam. It is about all of us. About the regrets we hold close, the nights we lie awake replaying choices, the whispers of failure that never quite fade. Sam's story dares us to face those whispers and answer them with courage. So when he asks himself what might have been, he also knows what is. A career that has touched millions, a legacy built not in spite of failure, but because of it. And the question he leaves us with is as piercing as his own admission. If you were given the chance, would you have the courage to reveal your deepest regret, and the strength to rise from it?